Okay everyone, now we have created our content tabs on the left, and we've also created some unit folders here inside those content tabs. We're ready to go with our next step here of organization. Hopefully you're following us here closely. Let's just pick a random unit, does not matter which one. If you have one in specific you're ready to work on, definitely pick that one though. So what I'm going to do here now is just show you how you can add in items that are going to feature attachments and other things you might want to include within your class area. Now, what we're going to be working with here is this tab here called Build Content. As I've mentioned with many other things so far today, there are a lot more options that you have, but these we're not going to get to today. Let's just focus in, and we're only actually going to focus on one, which is an item, but I do want to mention some other ones for you here as well. Now, under the Build Content, you have a lot of different things that you can add in here. Some ones that I want to point out are the audio, image, video, and web link. A lot of these things here are going to give you specific types of tabs and items that you can add in. The reality is that this one item button right here is going to give you just about every option you're going to really want for most people who are beginners and even intermediate users of blended schools in Blackboard, which is what this is really through. So let's just click first highlight build content and then click on item. And what we're going to be doing here is two things. Number one, we're going to be focusing on a lesson now and specific things you can include in your lesson. So let's put lesson 1, and this one was my government one. We'll just say democracy. Actually, we'll say government intro. And what do we want to add to our lessons now? There are two things that we're going to have as requirements as a part of your blended schools minimum expectations. The first one is that you must include your learning targets. So let's put a learning target here first, and this is really simple. This text is going to show up on the outside of this item, making it super clear as to what the expectations are for this unit or for this lesson. So learning target, I can explain why governments are necessary. Wonderful thing. Okay, now that's what we have here is our most basic thing, and that's something that everybody's going to be required to include. Now from here, let's look at the next step, which is to attach a file. Now, for most of you, you're not going to have the screen that I have. Over here on the right, you're probably going to have something that looks like this. So that may look a little bit more familiar to you now. In order to change that, we're going to come over here and we're going to click on this double down, which says show more when you hover over it. This gives you a lot more options. Now, while it seems very tricky and confusing, don't get too worried. We're just going to use one thing right now, and that is our little paperclip to insert a file. So what I want you to do here is let's push return a couple times, and then we're going to go to insert a file. Now, what you can do with this is insert whatever you have on your computer. So we're going to go to browse my computer, and let's say that we want to include something here, and I'll just pick this one right here, this Lexington and Concord PDF. Let's say this is the lesson materials, this is the note guide that I have for this day. I'm just going to put it here. If you want to put alternate text, you can. I never really do, to be quite honest with you. Then we're going to push submit. And now it shows up there as a nice little PDF. You could just follow those steps multiple times. Let's say you have a PowerPoint that you want to add. You can go in here and you can pick out a specific PowerPoint by following the exact same steps. Browse my computer. Now let's put in our report card materials, since everybody loves report cards so much. Then we're just going to push submit again. And then what do you have here? Now you have these both in this location. If you were to go to the browse my computer, with the attached file, it would really accomplish the same thing. I just kind of like using this menu up here, and the reason being is that it lets you choose where you're going to put it in the specific item, and you can do a whole lot of other things up here. Now, for instance, one thing that you might use in the future that's a little bit different is if you look over here at, let's type something here. Let's say you want to add a website. If you typed website here, what you could actually do is come up here and create a hyperlink, which is kind of nice whenever you look at videos later on, and that's something that will be in a different training for this day. But that's another thing that you could do theoretically. Other things in here include adding in a picture if you want from your computer, adding in a video, and some other simple things as well, mashups, but we're not going to get into that. Nonetheless, there's our simple thing. Using the insert file, you can put this here, and then just so you know what it will look like for students, let's push submit. Again, we have a permit users to view content, which is defaulted to yes. And there we go. So a student comes in, they say, okay, what are my Unit 2 lessons? Now we have Lesson 1. I'm actually going to put this in the student view. We have Lesson 1, which is the government intro, with the target being, I can explain why governments are necessary. Here are the classroom materials. Super simple, super basic. That's how you can get this organized very nicely and very neatly for the beginners here who are using Button Schools.